if you're like me and you do not watch the news, it doesn't matter. They use all sorts of tricks to get you to buy into whatever narrative they want you to buy into or feel the way they want you to feel, whether it be fear, whether it be to stir up feelings of racism. They do a really good job of putting this stuff in our face. Like you see, they'll make these videos go viral on every platform of one race being mean and targeting another, the cops and all of those things that you see in your face going viral. You can, they want you to put those angry face emojis out there. But this stuff is nothing new. Yes, racism does exist. That's not a lie. Hate and racism have been around for a long time. And I want to warn you guys to not become an extra hand to the news by sharing this stuff. When you share it, that's what they want you to do. It will make you angry. Yes, you do want to act out. That's their goal. These things are always filmed perfectly, placed on these platforms, never censored, no matter how graphically violent they are. It doesn't matter. They want you to see these things, and they want it to make you hate people. And they're doing a good job. I've seen a lot of people buying right into that. But I want to look at a quick history of how racism really increased a lot, and not really racism, more of just prejudice since the, I guess, 1800s, the late 1800s, when you had people like this guy throwing out some theories that don't really seem racist at first, but a lot of people were buying into this, or not really buying into it if you know their background, like the guy who created these drawings here, Ernst Haeckel. He created some fraudulent embryo drawings that make it, I've shown those in videos before where he made it look like we were all related because embryos all look the same at early stages, which ended up being a major lie. Once people started seeing real pictures of these things, it was already too late. These pictures were already in textbooks and people bought into it. 100 years later, people like you and I were looking at them in textbooks. But as you can see with these little drawings here, these are from him. And they said he was even the anti-Semitic type of person, trying to make some of these monkeys with the long noses look like the Jewish people. And it's obvious. So, I mean, it's kind of comical. It looks like he is just putting it out there without even just kind of skate around it. He's really making it look obvious what he believes in and is trying to push. And he has right here the order of your top, fully evolved Homo sapiens right here. And then it goes to number 2, number 3, number 4, more ape-like. And then number 5, starting to look a little familiar, trying to look at the hair. I mean, just look at this stuff. This is your origin here. And there's so many people who were buying into this that they were actually allowing things like people in zoos to be put on display with animals. People from Africa. Here's a young child from Africa that they brought in and put him in the I believe it was the Bronx Zoo. Don't quote me on that. I believe that's what it is. My brother sent me a link to this little video where they were doing this, and it was based on those types of views from the evolutionists that were new at this time, and they hadn't been fact checked yet. And there were a lot of hoaxes that were in the works, like the Java Man here. And you can see, look at the hair, look at the skin color, all of those things. And it's for a reason. If they can get one race to look at another race as inferior or be afraid of them in any way, the rest is history. It takes care of itself. And that's sort of what went on back then. And it took a while to eliminate that bias. And it wasn't until, the last 100 years or so where people started figuring out that all this stuff was nonsense. And especially in recent times with the New Awakening, everyone figuring out that evolution is null and void. There's no proof of it, and creation was not an explosion. So that's kind of doing away with that itself. But I want to look at what the Bible actually says about the super race, who it is, who is the ones that are chosen, because there are some movements going around where it's heartbreaking to see. My wife has been looking in to a lot of different things, the tribes, what happened, history, and she found a channel that she thought, wow, this person's saying some really cool things. Got to watching it, and long story short, the person said that God hates white people and that he's racist. And it broke my wife's heart because she was really enjoying listening to some of the stuff this person was saying. And those are some really flawed views that are not based on what the word tells us. And I hate seeing stuff like that happen. I hate seeing my wife experience that. And I hate seeing the stuff that's been going on in the past with people experiencing prejudice. But the word tells us, and this is in the New Testament, the book of Acts, chapter 10. You could read this yourself, where there was a man named Cornelius who had a vision. And an angel of the Lord came to this man and shown him something. And it was very revealing what this vision was showing him. A lot of people thought it had to do with being able to eat unclean meats, and that's not really what the vision entailed. It was about people of different nations, people from around the world that they considered uncommon or unclean or someone that they couldn't share the word with. The word had to spread. The Father's love had to be seen, and there was a lot of misconceptions back then regarding nationality, cultural backgrounds and all of that, just like there is today. And the word tells us, and this is, I think he had just talked to Peter, and I believe this is Peter saying this. It says, "You are well aware that for a man who is a Jew to have close association with someone who belongs to another people or to come and visit him is something that just isn't done." So, in other words, they didn't do that back then. They were discriminating back then. But God has shown me not to call any person common or unclean. That was shown to him from the Father, clearing up these sort of, I don't know if they were racial or if it was just people in the neighboring areas. Probably had something to do with the way they looked. But it says, "I now understand that God does not play favorites, but that whoever fears him and does what is right is acceptable to him, no matter what people he belongs to." It's in the Word. We can't go around making up religions that support particular races when it's not true. It's not in the Bible at all. And you have to understand that the elect, it never says the elect race. That's why it says the elect and his children. The Father has grace that goes beyond all of the lies that we've been taught, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. And the important thing is those who reverence him, fear him, and do what is right and acceptable. That's it. Doesn't matter what color you are. Yes, discrimination's going to exist. Yes, hate's going to exist. But it's not based on the word whatsoever. That's a lie. Anyone who tells you difference is telling you a lie. If you're getting caught up in those teachings, because there's a big movement going on with this stuff, with who the real Israel is and all of that on both ends, put that nonsense away. We have to wake up everyone and get everyone ready. Something is about to go down. You guys know it is. It's around the corner, and you do not want to be caught as those who are asleep and not ready. Just like we talked about in our last video. You guys are awake. You're not the ones that are asleep. It's not going to catch you like a thief in the night. Now, here is another one from Colossians that I want to repeat, because I think it's good that you look at other parts of the Bible and see if they align with one another. And this one here says, "Never lie to one another, because you have stripped away the old self with its ways and have put on the new self, which is continually being renewed in fuller and fuller knowledge, closer and closer to the image of its creator. The new self allows no room for discrimination between Gentile and Jew, circumcised and uncircumcised, foreigner, savage, slave, free man. On the contrary, in all, the Messiah is everything." But if that's not enough, let's look at what Jesus said himself when speaking in a parable, when he said, "Once more, the kingdom of heaven is like a net thrown into the lake that caught all kinds of fish." All kinds of fish. When it was full, the fishermen brought the net up to the shore, sat down, and collected the good fish in baskets. The good fish. It didn't say we went for the fish of this color or anything like that, just the good ones. But threw the bad fish away. So it will be at the close of the age. The angels will go forth and separate the evil people from among the righteous. Not the different colored people, the dark skinned or the less dark skinned. it's it's definitely going to be about your walk, your faith, not about where you fall on this chart. Where's the chosen people on this chart? Where are you? Here, here, here. This is all different shades of the same color. We all come from the same creator. Like we've said earlier, there was no Big Bang and more highly evolved people on any end of this color spectrum. We are all either the elect or we're not. Simple as that. So I just wanted to put that out there. I know that most of you already know that, and I really, when I did a video before about the possibility of the man carrying the cross being dark skinned, because I know that wasn't even on my radar when I was before I made that video, but something in a Greek translation and a Hebrew translation using the word Negro brought that to my attention, started investigating, and was blown away by the things that I found in the New Testament in regards to that. But that ticked a lot of people off, and I was just sharing something I found in a Bible translation other than the one that I was reading or that I normally read. And I know videos like this sometimes make people angry. A lot of people, it makes them feel good thinking they are this chosen race. I understand, makes you feel special. But his chosen people are from all around the world. We're going to be gathered up from all around the world, not just one particular land or something like that. And the word tells us that he's going to gather us up from everywhere. But the other day, this is something cool I wanted to share before I go about blackberries. You guys ever seen blackberries? I'm sure you have. If you live out in the country and you haven't been too sheltered, you've seen these things. They grow in the wild. I love these things. We pick them every year. Well, the other day I was out picking some blackberries and I saw something next to them, and I thought at first was just blackberries that weren't quite ripe. And some of them actually looked white, and they really looked kind of soft looking, and I felt of them and they felt like they were a ripe blackberry. However, they were white, bright white as you can see here, and I thought maybe this is some sort of poisonous imitation berry. But I looked into it and found out that it is something you can eat in these things, and they are white blackberries, if that's what you want to call them. I don't know their scientific name, but they taste exactly like blackberries. There's no difference in the flavor. They just look different, and I thought it was cool that I found this right before I did this video and all this stuff started going on. It's around the same time all this stuff has been going on with the race that started a while back. But really cool. Looking at these, you would think they tasted completely different, that I would have favorites here. But if I was a blind person eating these things, I'd have no clue which ones were white versus which ones were black. They are all created by the same creator to give you nutrients. Some of them, they have slightly different genetics when it comes to pigmentation, but they taste the same. The same purpose can be fulfilled, nourishing to the body. So, really cool. Never saw those before. Maybe you have. I hadn't. This was the first time, and I've always been out in nature picking blackberries, and maybe you have just overlooked them and thought they were unripe blackberries. But before I get too long-winded, as I normally do, I will get off here and be back very soon. Just wanted to share some important words to clear up the misconceptions that are misleading so many that are digging into finding out who we are. There are a lot of lies going on about who we are and where we come from. The word tells us exactly who we are, and it's very clear on that. So don't let the teachings of man mislead you. We have the Holy Spirit. We need no other teacher to show us things. The word tells us that also. It will clear things up. Ask the Father to disperse the confusion in your mind. He will do that right on cue. He wants you to ask for things and seek, and you will definitely find truth, and this truth will set you free.